Hi, I'm Ayami. One of the most common reasons people struggle with investing has nothing to do with intelligence and very little to do with information. It's something much simpler. They copy someone else. They hear what worked for a friend. They follow what an influencer is doing. They chase what's performing well right now, and then they're surprised when it doesn't work for them. Not because they did something stupid, but because they did something mismatched. This lesson is about stopping that pattern. Because successful investing is not about finding the single best strategy. It's about finding the right strategy for you, a strategy you can actually live with through boredom, fear, noise, and distraction. And that begins with what I call your investor profile. Your investor profile is the alignment of three things: risk tolerance, temperament, time horizon. If even one of these is misaligned, the system eventually breaks, and it usually breaks at the worst possible moment, when emotions are high and clarity is low. So we're going to slow down and define each one clearly. No hype, no jargon, no perfect answers, just the truth professionals use. Let's start with why people copy in the first place. Copying feels like safety. If someone else made money doing something, your brain treats that as proof. If a strategy worked for your friend, it feels tested. If an influencer looks confident, it feels certain. But investing doesn't work like a recipe. You can't copy someone else's ingredients without considering the kitchen, because the real success factor isn't just the strategy itself. It's whether the strategy fits, your ability to tolerate uncertainty, your behavior under pressure, and how long your money can realistically stay invested. When people copy, they're usually copying the visible part, the surface. They're not copying the internal reality, how that person reacts when markets drop, how long they can hold positions, what level of uncertainty they can tolerate without interfering. And that's why copying fails. Not because the strategy was bad, but because it was wrong for you. Let's talk about risk. Most people misunderstand what risk actually is. They think risk means volatility, the portfolio moving up and down. They think risk means temporary losses. They think risk means red numbers. But the real risk, the one that destroys results, is usually this: abandoning the plan when it becomes uncomfortable. That has very little to do with intelligence and everything to do with psychology. Because when your money moves against you, something happens. Your brain starts looking for safety. And if your strategy is too aggressive for your risk tolerance, you will eventually feel forced to act. Not because it's rational, but because it feels emotionally unbearable to do nothing. Now, I want to be clear. There is no right risk tolerance. Some people can tolerate large swings in value without reacting. They can see big fluctuations and stay calm. Other people feel stressed the moment the numbers move. They check more often. They lose sleep. They feel urgency. Neither is better. Neither is worse. But if you build an aggressive strategy for someone with low tolerance for uncertainty, it's a guaranteed failure. Not because the idea was wrong, but because at some point, emotion will override logic. So risk tolerance is not about bravery, it's about honesty. If you need the system to feel calm in order to stick with it, then calm is not a weakness, it's your requirement. And a requirement should shape the structure. Here's a professional way to define risk in simple terms. Risk is anything that increases the chance you'll make a decision you regret under pressure. That could be too much volatility for your nervous system, too much complexity, too many moving parts, or too much attention required. Because when something requires constant attention, it tends to trigger constant intervention. And constant intervention is where long-term results get damaged. So when I say risk, I'm not only talking about what markets might do, I'm talking about what you might do when markets do it. That's the real risk. Now let's talk about temperament. Temperament is how you behave under pressure. When things feel uncertain, do you feel compelled to act? Do you want to fix things immediately? Do you struggle with inaction? Or are you naturally more comfortable waiting, even when nothing seems to be happening? This matters more than people realize. Because markets reward patience, but only if your personality allows you to remain patient. Some people are naturally reactive. They don't like unresolved uncertainty. They want to do something, anything, to feel in control. If that's you, it doesn't mean you're bad at investing. It means you need more structure, not more freedom. You need a system that reduces decisions. On the other hand, some people are naturally calm. They can tolerate doing nothing without feeling like they're falling behind. If that's you, you can often tolerate simpler systems because your temperament doesn't create constant pressure to intervene. This is why good investing is not about being brave, it's about being realistic about your behavior. If your personality is reactive, a strategy that requires high patience will feel like torture, even if it's theoretically good. And when a strategy feels like torture, you won't stick to it. Here's the key mindset shift. Your temperament isn't something to fix, it's something to design around. Professionals don't build systems that require perfect emotional discipline. They build systems that work even when emotions show up, because emotions will show up. So the goal isn't to become a different person. The goal is to make sure your investing structure doesn't fight your personality every week. Now, time horizon. Time horizon is not what you hope will happen. It's how long your money can realistically stay invested without needing to be touched. That's an important distinction. People often say, I'm a long-term investor, but then they invest money they might need in the short term. And when stress hits, a job change, a family need, an unexpected expense, they panic. Not because they're weak, but because they unknowingly exposed short-term money to long-term uncertainty. So here's the clean truth. Short-term money should not be exposed to long-term risk. Long-term money should not be managed like it's needed tomorrow. When people panic during market downturns, it's often because of a time horizon mismatch. They didn't lose discipline. They built a structure that couldn't hold under reality. And reality always arrives eventually. So time horizon is the part of your profile that keeps you honest. It forces you to separate what needs stability now from what has time to ride through uncertainty. When risk tolerance, temperament, and time horizon are aligned, something important happens. You stop fighting your own system. You stop second-guessing every decision. You stop feeling the urge to intervene. You stop looking for constant reassurance. Your system starts to feel boring, predictable, and manageable. And that is exactly what we want. Because boring is not failure. Boring is stability. Boring is what allows consistency to happen quietly in the background. I want you to remember this line. The goal is not maximum returns. The goal is maximum adherence. A slightly lower return approach that you can stick with for 20 years will often outperform a brilliant approach you abandon after 2. This is one of the most important professional truths in investing. The best strategy is the one you can follow when your emotions are loud. Because over the long run, it's not the smartest plan that wins. It's the plan you actually stayed with. Let's make this real with one example. Imagine two people, Maya and Adam. Maya has a low tolerance for uncertainty. When her account swings, she feels it physically. She checks more often. She gets tense. She struggles to sleep. Adam is calmer by nature. He can tolerate swings without feeling the urge to interfere. Now imagine Maya copies Adam's strategy, not because she's careless, but because Adam seems confident. At first, Maya feels excited, but eventually the market gets volatile. And for Maya, the volatility doesn't feel like normal movement. It feels like danger. So she starts checking, then she starts doubting, then she starts adjusting, then she starts reacting. Not because she lacks knowledge, but because her investor profile was ignored. The strategy didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because it didn't match Maya's risk tolerance and temperament. Now imagine Maya instead uses her profile as the foundation. Her system is built to feel manageable, not dramatic. What changes? She sticks with it. And in investing, sticking with a reasonable plan often beats abandoning a brilliant one. That's the point. Here are 3 simple signals that your investor profile and your strategy are misaligned. If your strategy feels stressful, it's too aggressive for you. If it feels exciting, it's probably misaligned. If it feels calm and almost dull, you're getting close. That calm dullness is not a lack of ambition. It's a sign that your system is compatible with your psychology, and compatibility is what creates long-term results. So let's recap the entire lesson in one clean idea. You're not trying to beat the market. You're building a system that works with your psychology, not against it. Your investor profile is the alignment of risk tolerance, temperament, and time horizon. When these are aligned, your system becomes manageable. And when your system is manageable, you can adhere to it. And adherence is what builds wealth. In the next lessons, we'll use your investor profile as a foundation for how your money is structured in ways that reduce emotional decisions and protect consistency. I'll see you in the next lesson.